I'm seeing quite a number of tweets. Thank you very much for all the feedback that we're getting with regard to our conversation. I had asked you something and I didn't get an answer. The fact that NASA has said that they will not be part of the vetting process, does that have any impact on the whole exercise?
None
that
whatsoever.
That vetting that we were talking about?
No, none whatsoever. But they are making that stand. As they are standing, you can imagine that there is a, what's his name, Birdie. He is holding a constitutional office as the minority leader,
Yes.
drawing salaries from the exchequer. And this is a job that he is supposed to do, and they are saying, we don't want, we will not participate. They want to buttress their original ridiculous position that they do not recognize Uhuru as president. So they are in very precarious ground, but it's a political agenda they are pursuing. My friend wants to give them that space, but going forward, that space will narrow down. That has everything to do with where Ndii is right now, because the space will be narrowed deliberately. Yeah? Because we have to get, if we are guided by the rule of law, then an issue of swearing in somebody else outside of the law does not arise at all.
Right.
And any talk of swearing in somebody on oath is clearly going to be met, this time forcefully,
But then
under the law.
But then how do we then move on as a country even in this, considering also that, you know, NASA has quite a serious backing in the country of people who believe in the cause that they are in right now?
I pointed out, Betty, that the Constitution says that acknowledges and recognizes the aspirations of all. Those aspirations have to be channeled within and to be pursued within the confines of our Constitution. As we are, the person who has been sworn in currently, legally and lawfully, is the president who is serving, Uhuru Kenyatta. There is no any other swearing in that is backed by the law. So that's a legal fact. You have to appreciate what NASA is conversing and prosecuting through their political lenses. They are upping their stakes in terms of having a say on the formation of government moving forward. Because in mediation, if you go for mediation, you have to up your stakes so high so that you in the event when the chips take fall into their own places, at least you will get something. That is how I see it. Now I can tell you. Wait until the president, for example, recommends names that he says these are the people who will be in my cabinet. Then the narrative and the tactic will change, because the way I read NASA's agenda is they want a fresh election, free and fair. Then we will recognize the person. The only election that can happen, even if President Uhuru Kenyatta resigns tomorrow, the person who will be sworn in for the next remaining part of the term is his running mate. So, legally speaking, the only time you can have another election is 2022. Okay. So, but you know, you have a political agenda you have to prosecute, and you use all the options that are available. So, in my view, how I see it is that there is a likelihood that things will change after the cabinet is formed. They are sworn in, they are in office.
Isn't that the same thing we said about Uhuru Kenyatta being sworn in? And you know, everybody was waiting for that time. Seems now we're waiting for another, you know, event, which is the nominating.
We are being taken by NASA ever closer. My description of it is that NASA has rebelled against majority rule, against democracy and the rule of law. But I acknowledge his point. If you want to get the clouds, you go for the sky. If you go for the sky, you might get the clouds. I don't think they'll get even the crowd. As to his point that the president must help everybody get to their aspiration, when the aspiration of NASA supporters is for Raila to be sworn in as president, that is not an aspiration that Uhuru Kenyatta, as the legal president, is about to fulfill. But having said that, certainly not in the next 90 days. That's not going to happen. That, Betty, take to the bank. There is not going to be election. There's not going to, the only president is going to be Uhuru Kenyatta. The only thing that Ndii, and I mentioned it to you, is that this is manifestation that we have not had sufficient conversation about who we are, where we want to go, and why. And this is why I'm suggesting, I would like to suggest on your program that we repeal the National Cohesion and Integration Commission Act and get rid of it. It's a total waste of public funds. Because the discord, the aspirations that the NASA supporters that my friend is talking about should have happened. That is where we should have had that discussion. Because it's cohesion and integration. They have failed flat. That's the first thing that should go. And I would suggest that we replace it with a commission for national dialogue. It's not a dialogue that's likely to take 1 year. We should have a longer time span where we discuss and the ideas that would help those other people feel included are precipitated through this dialogue. I am not denying dialogue, but if it is 90 days, new elections, new electorals, that is not likely to come unless we put it in a longer time frame.
Longer process.
Yes.
All right, thank you. We have to wrap up. We really have to.
I just want to say...
Very briefly, 30 seconds.
I think what I was pointing out, my brother, is just saying about aspirations, is that those issues like now is pointing out that national inclusion, which in my reading of the NASA formation is political representation. Now, what you're pointing out is that we need to go beyond political representation on the part of the executive to tangible things that impact on the lives. I was just looking at, this is the Standard today. I was just checking. There's a young man here, I think he's called Omonde. I was showing you on page number 18, number 10. He's actually had a catch of over 52 kg Nile patch. If you look at the tools and that they're using, some of them would be rudimentary. But if they are supported, really... economic impact is what is bringing us to where we are.
To where we are.
I like that. Inclusivity, for example, would mean that this young chap, you know what happens in the morning? They come with their fish. They have 6 hours to sell it. Otherwise, it rots. So the Muhindis and the Kikuyus are at the lake with their refrigerated trucks waiting them out. If somebody wants to help them, we do cold rooms. And we rent to them somewhere where they can come and store their fish and go home.
Go back.
And wait for the proper price.
All right.
That is...
that's the real...
That's the real inclusivity. Not one of theirs appointed by one individual to go to the cabinet. Let's do the cabinet.
Allow me to say this. One of the problems we have, Betty, is that there are people who are eating on behalf of others in government. Next time when we come, I'll expound on it.
Talking about. All right, we have to wrap up. Thank you very, very much, gentlemen. That was a very interesting discussion we've been having here in studio. We'll continue having such moving forward now. I've been talking to Kiriro Wangugi, who's a public affairs and policy expert, together with Vincent Kimosop, who is a political analyst and a governance expert. All right.